Hauser students and faculty. We will be debating on several topics today that come from a controversial nature. Firstly, I want to address the Free Party. They want to remove government from the lives of American citizens. Without government, we wouldn't be able to regulate commerce, control chaos, maintain structure, and protect the citizens from the violent nature of the rest of the world. Obviously, we know that less than government won't work. Although we are debating on a total of 8 topics today, the Righteous Party feels strongly about 3 issues: abortion, gun control, and immigration. We are a strictly pro-life party that is completely against gun control as well. We are also completely supportive of legal immigration. However, we don't support those who have entered this great country illegally. The Righteous Party has a strict set of viewpoints towards all the debate topics, and we hope that we can fully express these today. Thank you.
Good morning, student body. We are the Free Party, and we're going to take the next 45 minutes to an hour and a half to compel you guys that we are the right party to choose. Our party is pro-choice, for the legalization of marijuana in every aspect, anti-drug testing in school, for reform on security around gun control, for drinking and eating in class, and the change in school dress code in relation to offensive images. Our goal is to allow the public to have more control over choices made for their lives. The government should focus on the protection of the public and the health of the country rather than regulating the choices of its citizens. All our goal is to not bash the other side, but to prove that making your own choices in your life will benefit more than having somebody else tell you what to do.
Okay. We'd like to begin with some questions from our panel of questioners. So Mrs. Tom's class is sitting in the front row. I'll just start here at the end. If you would, stand up. Let us know who your question is directed to, or it could be directed to both candidates. Either is fine. Then state your question, and we'll give them a chance to respond. Okay, let me interject here one thing. They're projecting their voice toward you guys, so I would encourage you guys to repeat the question so the audience can all hear what the question was before you answer.
Okay, I'm just going to do this. The question was, how does drinking and eating in class affect one's ability to learn? Is that correct? Okay. Eating and drinking in class overall distracts a student from learning. And I mean, of course, I can relate. I get hungry at some points. But the biggest thing is that it's a distraction. The Righteous Party believes it's a distraction. And we think that we are given adequate times during passing periods and during lunch to where we can eat and eat properly. And throughout the day, we don't need to be eating in class because the noises of rappers and everything like that, it's not good overall. And we think that overall spills cause distractions, eating, chewing loud, chips, crunching. All of that is just overall distracting. And also, if you eat an excess amount of food, your body's energy levels will be too high, and that makes focusing even harder in class. But if we're eating at those appropriate lunch times, it makes it easier to get the proper nutrition that we will need. So eating and drinking in class, we are against that just for the distraction purposes.
The Free Party believes you should have the choice to choose whether or not you want to overload yourself with food or you want to starve yourself. If you want to bring in snacks to class, it's much healthier to eat every 3 hours with a small snack instead of overloading yourself on lunch during the lunch times. It's not up, we don't believe that it should be up to anybody else to decide when we can or cannot eat. And we should be responsible enough as we are learning to get out of high school and to deal with our own problems, how to manage everything in our lives, including whether or not we want to eat or drink in class. So if we spill something, then we should be responsible enough to clean it up.
Okay, next question.
What is the point of legalizing marijuana, or would it just be legalized for medicinal purposes only?
In the Free Party, we believe that marijuana should be legal for medicinal purposes and recreational. Medicinal obviously have the effects of benefiting specifically illnesses that are chronic or uncurable and just tolerating pain. But with recreational, we believe you should also have the choice, just like with alcohol or nicotine. At a certain age, you should be able to decide whether or not you want to ingest marijuana. And we believe that not only would it benefit the lessening of inmates in prison because of the charges that they're typically charged with, but also increase money to the state. All of the states that have now legalized marijuana for recreational purposes have made more money for the state by taxing it and regulating it. So it would benefit all kinds of, anywhere we want to put taxes. Creating more roads, fixing more roads, putting money into schools, just because the money is coming into the state more. We believe that recreational should be allowed for that purpose.
The Righteous Party is not for recreational marijuana, but we are for medical marijuana. There are definitely benefits that have been researched, and medical marijuana can increase appetite. It comes with a relaxing sensation that can help people that have diseases such as epilepsy to be more calm, and that can reduce seizures. However, recreational marijuana can cause effects such as memory loss, trouble learning or thinking, and even changes in the physical structure of the brain. I know that some of the parties, Free Party's views is more on taking government and making it more of your choice rather than the government's choice, but the Righteous Party feels like the government has to do what's best for the whole nation as a whole, and taking marijuana and using it for a recreational purpose is not what we feel is the best.
Okay, need a question for the Righteous Party.
You said that any American should be allowed to ownership of a gun if they desire. Would this include children and mentally unstable, and would you allow a student to bring a gun to school?
The question was whether we should allow the mentally unstable and students to bring weapons to school. Obviously, I disagree that weapons should be brought into school. The Righteous Party feels like anyone who is mentally stable should have the right to own a weapon. What is very important is that there's multiple ways you can look at it, to be honest. Gun control laws can come in a multiple of different varieties, different ways, and obviously we don't support those that are bringing gun control into school, like bringing weapons into school. That's obviously not the right thing for students. We do support those of teachers that are properly trained to bring weapons into school. We do support police officers being in school with weapons, and we do support those who are mentally stable to have weapons to carry around concealed. Thank you.
For the Free Party, we believe that anyone should be able to own a gun if they go through the proper steps necessary to register that gun and have more background checks. So if we gave more background checks, we wouldn't have to worry about the mentally unstable or children getting ownership of it, because obviously they would not pass, the mentally unstable would not pass any other tests that we put on, such as a mental test, just making sure that they're okay to use it. The children wouldn't either, because they wouldn't be old enough. We're just making sure that all of the laws that are in place currently, we're not adding any more, but just reforming the ones that are there.
Okay, question for the Free Party?
Do you think teachers will allow eating and drinking in class?
The question was, do I think teachers will allow eating and drinking in class? Currently, they do not. In certain classrooms, it is up to the teacher. I believe that it should be up to the student. But if necessary, once the students have been allowed to eat and drink in class, if they find a problem that nobody's cleaning up their messes, then it goes back to the teacher's decision. Define what I mean about defending small children.
Okay, hang on. So you gotta give the Righteous Party a chance to make a comment about.
So addressing the previous question, will teachers allow food and drinks in class? Right now, that rule is based more upon the teacher, as Catherine addressed, but as the righteous party believes that eating and drinking in class is more of a distraction from learning than a teacher or student decision. We believe that students are given an adequate amount of time during lunch and during passing periods to be able to snack and eat, and that eating during class is going to provide a distraction and possibilities for messes for janitors to clean up. And we don't think that the added workload on the janitorial staff as well as the teachers to try to keep everyone focused is the proper approach.
Okay, question for the righteous party. No questions left? Thank
What
you.
is your stance on banning Fortnite-related dances from school?
The question was, what is your stance on banning Fortnite-related dances in school?
Okay, that's a righteous party. It's a
Catherine.
question for both, but it's their turn.
Catherine already repeated the question, so I don't feel the need to do so. But Fortnite-related dances in school, that was not one of our debate topics, but I will address it anyways. I can't dance very well. I don't know about you guys. I can't do any of the dances. I'm tall and skinny. I can't dance. But other than that, we are not against Fortnite-related dances in school. We are all for that.
Just like he said, that's not one of our debate topics, but again, our party is for the choices you make. So if you decide that that's what you want to do with your time, I'm all right with that.
Okay, do we have a question you'd like to ask the fair party from the panel? Are we out of panel questions at this point? Which if we are, that's okay. Any more questions from the panel? Okay, so at this time I'd like to open it up to audience questions. So if you have a question, raise your hand, get a chance to stand up, say who you are, say your name, and then tell us who you want to direct your question to, and you can ask it. Anybody have a question for either of these candidates, or maybe both? Okay, go ahead.
My question is, why are you for and against abortion?
Which side do you want to start? Okay. You want to start this one? The Righteous Party is a pro-life party. We believe human life begins at conception and that abortion is the murder of a human being. Only 3 weeks and 1 day after fertilization, a fetus's heart rate begins. By 4 weeks, which is only 6 days after the heart rate begins, the heart typically beats between 105 and 121 times per minute. This means that during the span of a fetus within a mother, it beats about 54 million times. Now to me, that is living. That just proves my point that human life begins at conception, and that the Righteous Party believes that pro-life and that saving the life of a child who cannot speak for itself is the correct thing to do.
The Free Party is heavily pro-choice. We are not going to argue whether or not at a certain time a fetus becomes a human, or at what point it begins to become living. But we believe that the right of the choice should go to the woman, because without the woman, the baby would not be alive. So our stance is that you can be able to have an abortion whenever you want, and we're not saying that we are giving the choice and the right to the mother and the grown adult rather than the child, because without the grown adults, the child would not be living.
Yes, I do. 50% in the past year, in 2017, 50% of unborn children are females. The unborn female has a body that is separate from that of her mother. She owns her own unique DNA. That means that's her own genetic code that is not her mother's. So that means that every 1 in 2 babies is a female. Women's rights, to me, the right of the woman to choose, applies the same to the baby. Therefore, you're taking away the right of the woman when you are performing an abortion procedure.
Response?
The woman that is currently pregnant, holding the child, if she ends up getting in an accident or unable to continue to grow the baby inside of her, the baby cannot survive. So it's not about protecting the eventual rights of a child that's unborn. It's about protecting the rights of the woman now.
Yes,
Okay.
but that is a specific circumstance. I mean, accidents are a totally different related reason than overall, like the overall circumstance. Accidents are, it's a completely different circumstance, and to say that we're going to base all cases based on possible accidents is unfair and unjust.
I'm not saying it's based on possible accidents. I'm saying that without the mother's life and without her participating in growing the child, the child would not be born. So the first and foremost of all of this is that we're protecting the mother and the thing that is growing the children. And if they do not want to have a child after they've conceived the child, they don't have to.
Okay, another question? Back here in the corner, Ms. Gadd.
Deb Gadd, and I would like to hear your opinion on teacher salaries. It's statistically shown that teacher salaries are low compared to the amount of education that's required to be a teacher. And then also, how might we secure funding to change that salary structure if you agree that teachers should receive an increase in pay?
Right. Teachers should be paid more. They deal with a lot more things that anybody else does by taking care of the kids, watching over the kids, teaching the kids everything they need before they graduate, and also just giving life lessons for outside of school. In our debate, we have said multiple times that by legalizing marijuana and regulating it, recreationally especially, we can get the funds and we can allot them to wherever needed. So if we decide that teachers and schools are the utmost priority, we can direct money to that.
I'm going to let my vice presidential candidate, Ethan Hoke, address this question.
It is quite true that teachers are the role model for many students across the country, and they're valuable to the lives of all of us in many different ways. We believe not only that they are underpaid, but also that the other benefits that they receive are, in many cases, undervalued. What we believe, though, is we think that teachers should be adjusted in the way they are evaluated. We think the evaluation process of many teachers in reference to things like testing scores for standardized tests is not a correct way to evaluate a teacher. Each teacher should be looked at on a case-by-case basis to evaluate what they are really doing for each student. That goes for looking at them depending on their subject and for what grade level they are teaching. Based upon how they are evaluated on an individual level, we believe that their pay should be increased or decreased simply based on how they are truly impacting the student. Because every one of you that is sitting in these chairs right now is the future of America. Whether you're going to go on to go to college, the military, or to work, you are the future.
Okay, another question? Over here. Caleb?
Caleb Wallen, what are your opinions on technology in schools?
We believe the use of technology in schools is a very helpful tool. We understand that in many cases, though, that teachers are inadequately equipped to deal with the rise in technology in the classroom. We believe that teachers should undergo more training to understand and be taught how to better utilize the technology they have available to them in class. We believe the internet is one of the greatest resources of mankind, and we believe that utilizing it within our high schools, elementary schools, and preschools will further increase the intellect of all of our students.
The Free Party also agrees that technology is a very good tool to use in class. It's also a very good distraction. We're not here to say whether or not students should have to completely ban technology from a class just because one student decided to mess around during class playing games. But we've decided that it's up to the teacher whether or not they're supposed to use technology and at what time.
I'm Bob Navi. I'd like to follow up on that question. I recently saw some information that stated that it started to indicate that 5 or more hours of screen time for adolescents means their brains are changing. We don't know whether it's good or bad. Do either of you have an opinion on limiting technology, limiting that screen time, since you both said you thought technology should be used more in schools?
I don't think, just like along with our general stance in the Free Party, it should be up to you. Many people make a lot of choices that are illegal, that are damaging to their health. I don't think that we should impose another rule on children saying that they cannot use technology for a reason that may or may not be good or bad.
We believe that just like with technology today, there were similar debates in the past with things like TV and other stuff like that, how that impacted children. What we've learned over time is that we need to highly evaluate these situations and the impact on children. Things like iPads and iPhones and other smart devices are so new, and research is, to most extents, very little. We believe that further research needs to be done. So at the current moment, the Righteous Party does not fully take a stance on whether that children having access to these devices for long periods of time is a good or bad thing.
Other questions? Go ahead, Brent.
I'm Brandon Newby. What's your opinions on dueling in the
The question was, what is your opinion on dueling in the bathrooms? As much as the Free Party would like to say, do whatever you want, there are rules that are set that we would like to follow with the legalization of marijuana, which goes along with nicotine is not allowed on school premises. So the answer to that question is, I do not think that we should be dueling in school.
On a similar note, the Righteous Party believes that since nicotine is not allowed on school campuses, that we don't believe dueling should be done in the bathroom, especially during school hours, especially similarly how we believe that food and drink in class is a distraction. Spending time dueling in the bathroom is also a distraction. Also, several of you in the crowd today are under the age of 18, which means it's illegal for you to be doing anyways.
Another question? Back here in the back? Yep.
Here's Meister. So, to the Righteous Party, you said that you're pro-life. I would like to know what your plan is to do with a child who is unable to be taken care of by the mother or the father in the situation after they're born.
For that question, I'm going to let the president of the Righteous Party, Sean Miller, address it.
So to repeat the question for anyone that didn't hear it, it was what was the plan of anyone who cannot properly support their child after conception, correct?
Yes.
Okay. A study showed that there were 32,101 pregnancies resulted from rape each year. A sample was taken from 34 women where 32% of these victims did not even discover they were pregnant until the second trimester. 32% opted to keep the infant, whereas 50% underwent adoption. The key statistic here is that only 5.9% of the infant placed the infant up for adoption. Adoption is a viable option. Many people all over the world are looking to adopt children who are in a better situation to take care of a child. Adoption is one of the best options if you cannot take care of your child, and the Righteous Party believes that if you cannot take care of your child, there are appropriate measures to be taken to where you do not have to abort your child.
As for the Free Party, Personally, I know many kids that were in the foster care system and that have had experiences like this with their parents. And they have ended up being in the foster care system until 15, 16, and most of the times until past the time that they have turned 18. There are so many loopholes in the foster care system, and the fact that there is money involved with how many kids you let into your house, it becomes more of a business rather than caring about the kids, and it allows for abuse and neglect and overcrowding a house and generally decreasing the quality of life for these children. And so I would ask, why, like, what is the difference between being unborn and living a life that nobody cares about you and they don't have the resources to support you?
The Righteous Party believes that living life is more prosperous than not given the choice to live life or not. The Righteous Party believes that having the opportunity to live the American dream, having the opportunity to do something in your lifetime is more important than not being able to get that chance at all at the start.
Living the American dream does not start with being unwanted and having a path of being uncared about. Adoption does work for some people, but for the most part, the rules are so strict and it's so expensive to adopt someone, that a lot don't end up going through with adoption even if they would like to adopt. A lot of kids still get stuck in the foster care system and end up being criminals or just generally lost in their lives. And we think that as it's becoming a problem for the government to pay for all of these children that are in the foster care system, that if the mother would like to get rid of the child, that she can.
Success stories come in all shapes and sizes, per se. One of you in the crowd could have a different success story, make millions of dollars, go on to live a successful life, and someone who is adopted could go on to do the same exact thing. Somebody in the foster care system could go on to do the exact same thing. Success stories can start in any different way. It doesn't, just because someone hasn't felt wanted at the beginning doesn't mean that they can't build a successful life for themselves. But if we don't give them that opportunity to begin, how do we know? How do you know if this kid that we are about to abort is going to be the next president, the next leader of a nation? How do we know these things? We can't decide these things, which is why a pro-life stance is the best possible solution.
Final comment.
In the case where we are allowing them to have the right to the American dream and to be successful, in the case where a woman was raped and she decided to have the child, in the same instance where that child could be the president of the United States, we wouldn't know if the woman that was raped or if she was a young girl would have went on to have more opportunities if she didn't have the kid and end up being the president as well. It should be up to her whether or not she should have her child.
So you guys are first.
Hello everybody, thank you for coming out. I really appreciate everybody coming and listening and asking questions and not being disruptive. But my closing statement is basically all of our choices that we make in our lives are limited by everybody else. The Free Party its goal is to give us more choices to make the right decision and also the wrong decision. I believe that people should make their own choices, even if it's bad, because you can learn from them and grow. The important thing is having nice people around you that care about you and that will help you anytime you need it. And I'm not going to bash on the other party. And if you have any questions about my stances or their stances, come talk to us. But voting is tomorrow. Thank you.
We talked about a variety of different issues today, whether that be from the legalization of marijuana, food and drinks in class, abortion issues, Fortnite dances, pretty much everything we talked about here today. The Righteous Party believes that what is best for our nation as a whole is the proper way to go about it. We believe that pro-life is the best choice for an individual. We believe that we should have Fortnite dances. Legalization of marijuana for medical reasons is appropriate. All of these things combined together is what we want to do to make our nation great as a whole. Thank you for your time, and I hope to see you at the polls tomorrow.